Hello everybody, welcome back to Life Stories. My name is Trent, and I hope you're doing awesome as always. Today, got more stories coming at you from Reddit/entitledparents. So you know the drill, settle down with a loved one, grab some snacks, because we're getting started now. Our first story of the day is titled, EM Demands I Stop Entertaining Her Entitled Kids. It had been a long and emotional day as ever, morning this time. But early enough to tell that I was still a little grouchy. What even are mornings? My mood lifted dramatically, however, when I got on the coach to find that it was uncharacteristically light on passengers. Not empty by any stretch, but seating was clear enough that everyone could have a double seat to themselves if they wanted. So, unsurprisingly, that's exactly what I did. Around 8 a.m., considering that I still had 6 hours of journey left, I decided that it was late enough to no longer be considered rude to break out the laptop and start playing some games. I used headphones, but I didn't want to disturb people with the bright screen if they were trying to sleep. On budget coaches, you're usually packed in like sardines, so the little extra personal space I had to comfortably use the laptop was a rarity that I was definitely not going to pass up. I managed to get in maybe an hour of gaming before we pulled into the next station, but thankfully there was still plenty of space, so I was fairly confident that I'd get away with keeping my double seat, and kept playing. It wasn't long before the bus started moving again, and while nobody had wanted to sit next to me, a pair of young kids had sat down in the 2 seats behind me. Not that I'd noticed, due to being engrossed in the game I was playing. I believe it was Warcraft 3, if you're curious. One small piece of context needed is the laptop I was playing on was awful. Not only was it old, but it was tiny, still ran on Windows 2000, long after 7 was out, and yet somehow was also heavier than a bag of bricks. As such, the term playing the game was technically true, but the thing chugged along at maybe 15 frames per second if I was lucky. Although I didn't mind because it made for some hilariously awkward moments during the in-game cutscenes. So that made up for it, and hey, it was better than nothing. It wasn't long after leaving that I could feel somebody was watching me over my shoulder, and a quick glance behind me showed that one of the kids behind me was standing on their chair and staring at the game over top of my seat. I didn't particularly care, so long as I wasn't interrupted, so I figured if he wanted to watch the slideshow, he was welcome to it, because I probably would have done the same at his age. However, that's when entitled mom, EM, piped up from across the aisle. I'll refer to the entitled kids as EC1, boy, and EC2, girl. EC1, get down this instant and get on with your schoolwork. But Mom! Now, EC1. The kid sat down in a huff, and I lightly chuckled to myself and continued waiting for the laptop to go to the next slide. However, it wasn't long before the kids started watching over the seats again. This time, both of them. EC2 decided to poke me in the top of my head to get my attention. "What you doing?" she said. Annoyed that I'd been disturbed, but not wanting to take it out on the kid, just said, just playing some video game. EM pipes up. "What did I tell you to? Sit down and do your workbooks." The kids quickly sat down again, but it wasn't long before they were both up once more and staring. I really didn't care so long as they kept their hands to themselves, so I just kept playing. Now, so far, you might be wondering where the entitlement is. Yeah, this is annoying, but it's not that bad. Well, it was at this point that all the crap hit the fan. "Mom, he's making it go slow so we can't watch it," said EC1. An audible and melodramatic gasp broke out from across the aisle as I heard the seatbelt being undone, objects rustling around, and before I knew it, EM was standing in the aisle next to me. "You two, I did not pull you out of school so that you could spend all day watching movies. And you, what do you have to say for yourself?" What? "How dare you entertain my children without my consent? They're at a crucial part of their education, and I don't need the likes of you distracting them with your cartoons and movies." There was so much to unpack here that I was just stunned into silence. First of all, I was just sitting here, minding my own business. Next, it wasn't a movie, but a video game. Third, it was barely moving, so I'm not sure the term movie could apply. Next, it wasn't my fault that your kids were disobeying you and watching me and a bunch of other stuff too. It's people like you that are wrong with this world. Fat and lazy and don't respect children's needs for a proper education. You sat here watching whatever that is on a weekday morning. Why aren't you at work? Too lazy to get a job? I felt like I was hit by a truck. I had no response. I had never been bombarded with such a consistent and out-of-nowhere stream of unprovoked comments before that, and I was left speechless. The first kid, still standing, pointed at my crap top. "Mom, can I have that?" "If you finish all your workbook, then you can have it. This ingrate definitely doesn't need it." It seems that was the line that needed to be crossed, because I snapped back to attention. "What the hell, lady? What makes you think that any of this is okay?" It was EM's turn to look flabbergasted as she melodramatically took a full step back, which made her accidentally shove her butt full on into unsuspecting passenger's face. Acting like nobody had ever spoken to her that way before, she finally spoke up. "How dared you? First, you maliciously entertain my children. Then you have the nerve to swear at me? I demand you stop what you're doing at once and get off this coach at the next stop." I was about to reply and escalate the argument with a number of choice words. "Oh, you don't like swearing, huh?" But the argument thus far had clearly made an impression, because the coach suddenly pulled over and we were confronted by an absolutely livid driver. Or maybe the driver's mate. I had no idea. "What's going on here?" "This man is harming my children. I demand you kick him off." The driver interrupted. "Lady, I've heard everything. It's been basically impossible not to. Either you move away from this gentleman to the back of the coach, or it's you that'll be asked to disembark at the next station." An eerie hush fell over the whole coach, where it became very apparent that everyone was now watching the situation unfold intently. EM tried to argue back, but it was clear that the driver was holding all the cards. The final nail in the coffin was when he said, "Look, lady, I'm not going to move this coach until you change seats to the back of the coach. And if you make us late for our next stop, I'll have to fine you for the time wasted and charge you for any refunds that will need to be given." EM went pale and immediately, and sheepishly, gathered up her children and all their stuff, then strode down to the back of the coach, with now crying children in tow. The driver gave me a facial expression that basically translated to, "Yeesh," which I definitely reciprocated before he went back to drive on. I wasn't bothered for the rest of the journey, and EM plus ECs departed before I did, without a second glance. I said thanks to the driver on the way out, to which he gave a short, "No problem." Suffice to say, I certainly wasn't interested in going into children's entertainment before, but now that I know that doing so might be destroying their future, I now feel a moral obligation to steer clear. You know, for the kids. At least where I live, those low-cost public coach things aren't so much a thing, unless you're talking about city buses. I don't know what it's like in the UK, but I have never had as many run-ins with Karens on city buses as people on Reddit seem to have had with public coaches. I don't know what the deal is. Might be something in the water. Moving right along, our next story is titled, "EM and her EK tried to steal my sister's Switch Lite." So here's a little bit of context before the story begins. Animal Crossing recently came out on the Switch, and I bought it on release, and since then, my sister has wanted it, but didn't have a Switch, and neither could she buy one, as it's all sold out pretty much everywhere. Well, anyways, on to the story. Also, first post on this sub, so don't judge. EM is entitled Mom, EK is entitled Kid, me is Guess Who, me, and MM is my mom. So, because of COVID-19, we haven't gone to the supermarket as often as we normally do. So whenever we do go, one person needs to go help out with all the groceries that we buy. So I decided to go with my mom so I could finally leave the house. Now, as my mom did the grocery shopping from one of the stores, I went around looking through a few stores to see if they had a Switch Lite in stock. I finally went to EB Games. It's basically GameStop, but in Australia, for anyone who didn't know. I talked to the lady at the counter, and she said that she had only one Switch in yellow, which was the one my sister wanted. So I text my mom, and she comes over to pay for it. As we were leaving, I hear, "Mommy, I want that one!" Here we go. EM approaches us. "Hi, I see you have a Switch Lite there." Yes, I bought it. It's for me." EM cuts me off. "Well, we just asked the lady at the counter, and she said that that was the last yellow one, and my son really wants it. He's been such a good boy. Don't you think he deserves it?" Yeah, so you should give it to me, EK says. Keep in mind, he has the dumbest look on his face. No, sorry, we just paid for it, and it's for my sister. She wants it probably as much as your kid, and to be honest, I don't care if he has been a good boy or not. How dare you speak to me and my angel like that? You know what? For being rude, you will give it to me now. She goes to grab it. Now, at this point, I kinda just lost it, and surprisingly, my mom didn't get mad at me afterwards for it. Karen, I don't give a crap what your freaking demon of a child wants. If he wants his own darn Switch, tell him to wait until one goes in stock. And if you can't get one, use the money to get some lessons on how to have some freaking manners. At this point, she looks more infuriated than ever. However, me and my mom start walking away. She's screaming at us. Get back here and give my child what he deserves, you ignorant little crap! I pay no attention to it and just keep walking. We do the rest of the shopping, and Karen seems to coincidentally end up in every store we're in. We leave and head home, and my sister loves the Switch Lite and Animal Crossing too. Everybody needs to experience Animal Crossing. It's making everyone happy, except Karens. Karens and their kids, no Animal Crossing for you. Bad Karen. And with that one out of the way, we have run out of time for today, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you so much once again for tuning into an episode of Life Stories. My name is Trent. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Reddit content coming your way, and I hope to see you guys soon.